We've all been told to reduce our calories, drink more water, and to work out a lot, as well as a bunch of other common fat loss tips that we've heard over and over again. But in all my years of dieting and training myself and helping others, there are really 5 crucial things that emerged that completely changed the game for me and truly made fat loss and staying lean so much easier. So today I want to share these 5 powerful tips with all of you because I really feel like any one of these alone can make a huge difference. And the very first one that I want to start with is cycling calories. Now, calorie cycling is something that many people know about, but most people don't understand how powerful of a tool it is and all the ways that it can be used. So that's why I want to break down the specifics that make it a true game changer. When most people try to eat less with a diet designed to burn fat, they're following a continuous energy restriction model. In this model, you eat less calories than you burn every day, which ends up leading to fat loss. To illustrate a simple example, let's say that to break even, your maintenance calories would be at 2,500 calories a day. So you subtract 500 calories per day every day, which means you're now eating 2,000 calories per day, which will leave you with a deficit at the end of the week of 500 times 7, which is 3,500 calories. Now, in a very simplified way, we can say that calorie cycling for fat loss is when you have more calories on some days and less calories on other days to achieve an overall calorie deficit over time. So for example, if you had 1,500 calories every other day, 4 days a week, and then on the other 3 days of the week you had 2,650 calories, which is a calorie surplus of 150 calories on those 3 days, you would still wind up burning 3,550 calories at the end of the week, which is the same as being in a calorie deficit every single day. Once you understand this concept, you can use calorie cycling in a million different ways to truly make your diet more enjoyable, convenient, and sustainable. When you're required to eat in a calorie deficit every single day, even with a small deficit, it begins to feel like you're perpetually dieting, like you never really get to your destination. Even if you are burning fat, you never get to the point where you're there and you could let your guard down and eat without worry. And that's a big part of why in the long run, most people that were excited about their diets early on end up quitting. On the other hand, by cycling your calories, you get breaks every single week that make it feel like you're not even dieting, and you can set it up in whatever way works best with your lifestyle and preferences. For example, currently I really enjoy eating whatever I want on the weekends. So in order to be able to do that while still burning fat and staying lean, I simply reduce my calories further throughout the week by incorporating things like fasting and simply eating less food on weekdays. Ultimately, at the end of the week, it balances out and I'm allowed to eat freely without worrying about gaining fat. So one example to illustrate this is, let's say that I fast for 24 hours on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and I eat at maintenance on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So once again, let's pretend that to maintain, I need to eat 2,500 calories. Well, based on that, every Friday by the end of the day, I've just created a 7,500 calorie deficit. Now on the weekend, I have a lot more room to eat the foods that I want to eat. So even if I ate 4,000 calories on Saturday and Sunday, I would still wind up with a 4,500 calorie deficit at the end of the week. Keep in mind, this is just one example. You do not have to fast at all when you set this up for yourself. But the point is that you have to start viewing fat loss from a wider lens. You don't have to be in a deficit every single day, which psychologically speaking is a huge benefit, especially in the long run. The same idea can be applied if one day you unintentionally pig out and eat way too much food when you were supposed to be in a deficit. Well, with a couple days of fasting, or if you don't like fasting, you could simply spend a few days in a more aggressive calorie deficit and it'll easily make up for you pigging out. The bottom line is that cycling your calories gives you a far more flexible option for burning fat. And if you want to find out how many calories you should be eating per day to burn fat, you can use my macro calculator in the link below in the description. And then you can cycle those calories so that you're able to eat the foods that you want to eat more freely on the days that you choose to do so. The next thing that totally changed the game for me was realizing that I didn't have to eat every couple hours to get lean and stay lean. Now, I already talk about this a lot on my channel, so I won't spend too much time on it, but I remember having to cook 5 meals a day plus a protein shake every single day and having to force feed myself when I didn't feel like eating, which even when you're in a calorie deficit, sometimes you're just not going to be in the mood to eat, especially when you just ate a meal 2 or 3 hours ago. In general, I found this style of dieting taking over my life. I did it for years, guys, before I switched over to eating less frequently. And the reason why it took me so long to switch over was because I was terrified that if I only ate 1 or 2 meals a day, I would lose all my muscle, I would destroy my metabolism, and soon after I would gain a ton of fat. However, there are many studies that show that meal frequency for the most part is a non-factor when it comes to burning fat and building muscle. If you want to be on the safe side for muscle building purposes, then I recommend that you just make sure that you're having at least 2 meals a day, and I promise you guys, you can achieve just as great of a physique with 2 meals a day as you can achieve with 6 meals a day. So if you want to save time cooking, if you want to eat larger, more enjoyable, filling meals, if you don't want to have to stop what you're doing to eat every couple hours, and you want to be more productive throughout the day, then eating less frequently can help you accomplish that without sacrificing results in the process. The next crucial tip is to accept hunger and to learn how to master it. Now guys, many of you believe that you should not feel hungry at any point while following a diet that's designed to burn fat. Unfortunately, hunger cannot be completely avoided if you're burning fat unless there's something wrong with you. You're going to be burning fat when you're dropping your insulin levels and taking in less calories than the amount that's needed for your body to function. This shortage of calories is the only reason why your body chooses to get those calories from your own body fat rather than from food. So of course, you're going to be receiving hunger signals because your body's letting you know, hey, we're tapping into the reserves, make sure you're eating enough calories or else we'll eventually run out. So hunger while burning fat is perfectly normal. What we don't want is to be starving. We want our diet to be full of healthy single ingredient foods that satisfy our hunger without having to eat a crazy amount of calories to do so. But at the same time, if you're never hungry and if every time you get hungry, you eat something like a trail mix bar, peanut butter, or handfuls of almonds until you're no longer hungry at all, you're probably not going to be burning all that much fat either. So to manage hunger without food, there are a couple things you can do. First of all, realize that you won't get hungrier and hungrier if you don't satisfy the hunger. In fact, the exact opposite is true. Hunger actually goes away all on its own. There are studies that show that about 2 hours after the initial spike in hunger hormones, if you simply don't eat, they'll drop right back down on their own, even if you're fasting for the entire day. Of course, you can get that spike in hunger hormones more than once throughout the day, but remember that it will go away on its own and your body will adapt to your new eating pattern over time. With that said, you do have some options to help reduce hunger throughout the day, like drinking coffee, eating a high protein, high fiber diet, and eating enough healthy sources of dietary fat. The last thing that you should keep in mind is that so much of your hunger is a conditioned hunger response, which means that you've associated and paired certain activities and ideas with food. This is something known as Pavlovian conditioning. So, for example, every time you watch TV, you might start getting hungry because you've made it a habit to eat food whenever you watch TV. Just like with the TV, you can unknowingly pair a ton of activities with food, even something simple like boredom. However, by simply breaking these habits for just a few weeks, it'll help your body adapt and the conditioned hunger responses will subside. But in the same token, remember that the first few days of a new eating pattern will always be the most difficult and will get better with time. And this actually takes me to the next incredible fat loss tip that people that have been subscribed to my channel for a while have definitely heard me say before. Satisfy your physical feeling of hunger before you satisfy your mind's hunger. The truth is that we all want the freedom to be able to incorporate snacks and even some junk food into our diets. Cycling calories can help quite a bit with this, but there is another way to do it without putting in much effort at all. You see, when you start craving junk food like ice cream or Doritos, restricting it will only make you think about it more. It's like trying to not imagine a purple elephant. Of course it's not going to work. So instead of counting calories and instead of never allowing yourself to have ice cream again, when you get the craving for ice cream, tell yourself that you'll eat the ice cream, but only after eating an unprocessed meal that's high in protein, vegetables, fibrous carbohydrates, and healthy fats. Then you can have the ice cream. Now, this does much more than you may think. You see, when you get hungry, it's not just the physical feeling of a rumbling stomach that you have to deal with. It's also a hungry mind that you have to deal with. And your mind will be full of all the wrong suggestions like ice cream and Doritos because these snacks are so easy to quickly get to and they're so calorie dense. You can tell yourself no, but the problem is that if you always restrict yourself, it's just a matter of time before you cave and binge. So by having a wholesome, unprocessed meal with the promise of the ice cream afterwards, you'll in a way trick your mind into eating the healthy meal without having to deal with resistance, and once you're done with that meal, the physical feeling of hunger will naturally subside, which will quiet down your hungry mind significantly. You either won't want the junk food anymore because you'll already be full, or you're only going to be able to eat a very small amount of it before you are full. So if you don't want to track your calories, you don't want to give up all your favorite foods, and you still want to be burning fat in the process, you have to make sure that you're always satisfying your hungry stomach first before you satisfy your hungry mind. Finally, the last fat loss tip that helped me so much was realizing that the vast majority of my workouts needed to be based around getting stronger. This is completely counterintuitive to the average person trying to burn fat. Most people will try to incorporate as much cardio as possible when trying to burn that fat, but in reality, they should be focused on getting stronger, or at least maintaining as much strength as possible. You see, inevitably, no matter who you are, when you're burning fat, you're going to also lose some muscle. And not only is it necessary to maintain muscle so you can look better after you cut away the fat, but muscle is also metabolically active tissue. Having more muscle also helps with improving insulin sensitivity, and that muscle uses a lot of carbohydrates during intense activities and afterwards as well during recovery. Ultimately, the muscle is what helps you get lean and stay lean when you're done. And the best way to maintain it during a cut is to focus on strength. So while cutting, you want to do your best to use the same amount of weight for the same amount of reps for your key exercises like squats, deadlifts, lunges, bench presses, overhead presses, and rows. If you can somehow use more weight or do more reps while in a calorie deficit, then that's even better. But most likely, no matter how hard you try, you will still lose some strength with a calorie deficit as the weeks go by. So your goal should be to fight as hard as you can for every last pound on that bar. Many people feel weak during a cut, so they immediately drop the amount of weight that they were lifting before starting. But instead, I want you to try your best to not drop the weight until your rep count is far too low. So an example of this would be if you were benching 200 pounds for your first set for an average of 8 to 10 reps. Try to stick to that weight over the course of the weeks that you cut until you can't rep out 5 reps. Then, and only then, drop the weight. Bottom line is do everything you can to lift heavy and keep your rep count up while you cut. Don't give in to your low energy levels while cutting, and the results at the end will be significantly better. That about wraps it up, guys. I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you have, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon. And remember that to lose weight and body fat, like I said in the very beginning, you will definitely have to be eating the right things, especially if you want to see faster results. So if you're serious about hitting your goals and you want to take part in one of my programs where on average my clients are losing anywhere from 20 pounds or 5% of their body fat in just 42 days, then visit my website. With our program, you'll get a 42-day workout plan that comes with an in-gym and an at-home version included. It also comes with a full video exercise library, a diet plan based on your body, a recipe book, and you'll get an accountability coach to guide you through the whole process. To apply for one of these challenges, you can click the link below, or you can just visit my website directly at gravitytransformation.com. I'll see you guys soon.